I have a to-do list on my notes app, and it just says be present at home.
Oh,
So pretty much every time I kind of need to check my to-do list, that's the first thing that pops up because I've had issues with that. It hasn't been easy because I'm so career driven.
first, I want to thank you for joining me today. I think it's going to be a interesting conversation because there's a lot of takeaways I believe we can have from this podcast episode. Because I have great character in front of me, I think you have a amazing personality in a way that you seem different than other, guys our age. And I always thought of it when I was younger as well, because you've been in committed relationship for so many years, which was different our
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And then you've had some colorful um, experience in basketball. You went to the States and you played a bit professionally, and you're still playing. And you have two kids, and you have your own practice,
Yeah.
and you're helping other people. So we're gonna dive into this today, but I want you to just maybe guide us through your life a little bit, and how did you get to this point?
Well, first of all, the pleasure is all mine. Obviously, I think I completely agree with you. It's probably going to be super interesting for our contemporaries, for people that grew up with us, because we kind of grew up in the same cycle of people. So it's going to be quite interesting for them, I think, to hear. Like, we didn't have much of a connection growing up, but I remember going to your games, and when you were playing for youth national teams, and all the guys around me were like hyping you up and stuff like that. So it's kind of an interesting moment to be here all these years later talking to you. And obviously we share like a weird connection as far as the playing basketball in States goes as well. That's a quite interesting story. I don't know if we're going to dive into that today, but
We
yeah,
can.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. But as far as like any introduction, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. Yeah, I've had quite an interesting journey to pursuing professional basketball career ever since I was a little kid. Achieving that to some level, then abruptly ending my basketball career at 24, and just being blessed to have had the academic education that I got in the States with my athletic scholarship, and just having that kind of step to move on from, and start my career here in Riga, Latvia, as a physical therapist and an osteopath now as well. So,
Hmm.
and a bunch of other things in between. So yeah, I'm interesting. I'm real interested to see whether you want to dive in, because there's a
Okay,
lot to dive into.
let's dive in. I'm gonna guide you through this, and feel free to, jump from one situation to another, because I think a lot of things affect each other as you gonna share your story. So, okay, after high school, you went to JUCO, right? You played 2 years
2 years.
in Texas.
I was actually in two different JUCOs.
Mm.
So it's quite crazy actually, because when I was
Dive
15,
into the crazy stuff.
I
Go
mean,
in.
so I was, just to kind of paint the picture, I was always a lot better basketball player in my own head than other people perceived, coaches, other players. I was always a candidate for youth national teams. I never made any European championships. So I felt like there was some conspiracy type of thing. And
Mm.
I'm still holding a little bit of a grudge in terms of that, I think, but in a positive way. So I didn't allow myself to believe that I'm not good enough to continue playing. So I made my own highlight tape from high school basketball games, youth club games. Uh, Made my own tape, sent my own emails. I sent over 1,000 emails. I got the receipts. I think I got like 5 replies, which pretty much, long story short, one coach ended up sending my resume to a JUCO coach that he knew, and I got the scholarship, and that's where I kind of kick-started my college basketball career in a junior college, Bossier Parish Community College in Louisiana. And I had a pretty good year there. I think I had a lot of D1 interest, quite a lot of coaches reaching out to me, sending me messages, because, JUCO is a good step towards playing Division I ball. A lot of times, a lot of JUCO kids are just kids who got in trouble and for some reason academically just failed, or some other difficult situations in life failed them. But yeah, the level was pretty crazy there in JUCO, and I played quite well. So I transferred to another JUCO in Missouri, and I remember that coach telling me, "You're gonna go high major D1. I'm gonna get you these offers." He had a bunch of NBA players drafted after playing in his program, and so I trusted him fully and played my year there. The level was even crazier there. We had, I think, our JUCO team had I don't want to lie to you or anything, but I think we had 5 or 6 D1 transfers in our JUCO program. So it was quite crazy. So I didn't play as much as I did in my first school, and I didn't get the same offers. I ended up going to a D2 later for my 3rd and 4th year. So yeah, it was quite a lot to kind of push into a couple sentences. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of my college career, yeah.
And just to add on that, I think it's important to keep in mind for anyone who is committing to any school that, yes, one thing is when coach tells you or promises you something, but that might not happen at all. And sometimes it's very out of your control. You can be really good and be much better than other players, but it's just out of your control what the coach decides to do.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think that's kind of a tough situation us Euro kids have to deal with. We've had a bunch of talented kids from here who've been the leaders of youth national teams and go over to the States, and they're bench warmers, and they're considered not tough enough and whatnot. So you're automatically kind of up against it once you go there, but I would never trade those experiences for anything, although those were some of the toughest times, I think, mentally for me and physically. I think the experience I got and just the toughness I got from all those experiences is something I cannot trade anything for. So yeah, I would do it all over again. I would probably do some things differently. I wouldn't have transferred from my first school, but you get the idea, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned the challenges you had to overcome, but before that, I want to congratulate you of actually finishing and getting those degrees, and because I know many players who go to JUCO or any other D1, D2 school, and they just don't finish, or they don't have the opportunities, or they don't get the extended scholarships, so they have to leave. So good job, you did. You finished.
I'm super grateful for it. At that moment, it's kind of interesting though. I think the fact that I'm kind of delusional, which I mean in the best way possible, is that I pretty much until I stopped playing, I thought it's gonna happen. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it big, and that made me stick it through. But even though it didn't happen, I am now using my education to the best of it. I mean, the diploma in my background, it's kind of unintentional, but it's there. I mean, I'm so grateful for it. I mean, to not have a student debt and to not have my parents having paid anything for my education from the States is just amazing, and something that I'm so grateful for, and grateful that I stuck through it, although it was quite difficult at times in terms of the basketball situation, yeah.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we take it for granted that we don't have like a, I don't know, 100,000 student that, or even we had this opportunity to go overseas because, yeah, not everyone has that.
It was quite different for you, wasn't it? I mean, you were one of the best players in your age, pretty much, and Well, and you pretty much got high major D1 offers from the rip. I remember, what was your decision? It was Fordham or
Oklahoma State.
yeah,
And then I had others I didn't even realize, like, sometimes on Facebook, coaches would
yeah,
message you, and then the requested messages you don't actually see.
right.
So when I already was at Fordham, I would finally look at my requested messages, and there were a few.
And that
But
was quite interesting. I don't know if you want to dive into that, but I just kind of want to, you haven't talked about yourself much on this podcast, I don't feel like, so I want to kind of highlight you as well.
oh,
Because I
thank you.
remember kind of following your journey because we had a mutual guy we worked with, Rudy Wallace. And I remember I thought going to Oklahoma State was a no-brainer. They were like a top female program. And it was pretty much like a straight line to WNBA, it felt like at the time. And you chose to go to Fordham. So I never found out the true reason, but I'm just assuming you did it because of academics, your role on the court, or what was it?
Yeah, well, actually, you know, I've been naive a little bit. I think it plays for a benefit for me sometimes, but also not always. So when I had official visit to Fordham in New York. They flew me and my family to New York City, and I mean, it was nice. And so after my official visit in New York City, I had a plan to go then and visit Oklahoma State. But the trick was that I didn't know that somehow verbally I expressed my interest in Fordham University. And when
Oh,
I
wow.
mentioned to coaches at Fordham that I want to still visit that other school, they said, like, hold on, you
Yeah.
verbally committed, so you can't do this. And so
But
I
you
didn't
could
know
have done
much.
that though,
Of
right?
course,
You
yes,
could
I
have.
could have.
Yeah, so they tricked you.
A
Oh,
little bit,
wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so I was a little bit scared because I didn't want to lose either opportunity. And
We were so inexperienced. I don't blame you at
yeah,
all.
so I canceled Oklahoma State and just basically committed to Fordham. I mean, and I believe it all happened for a reason. Yes, maybe my life couldn't have looked way different if I went to Oklahoma State. It was much bigger school, but yeah. When you
But you got
mentioned
to
the
live in New
challenges,
York though, so quite good.
yeah.
That,
Okay,
well, isn't it
yeah, go ahead.
interesting for you to see how it is nowadays when kids go from visit to another and they take like a full photo shoot? They take like a full photo shoot in all the gear and saying like, I'm gonna go here, and then the week after they do another one.
Yeah. And
So
that's the game. You have to kind of be ahead of it and know a little bit more. And I think this is where, if you have a manager,
yeah.
then it can help a lot too.
Well,
To
things are different now.
yeah.
Like it's been what, 10, 11 years since that. So things are a lot different. People are getting
Yeah.
NIL deals, and one of our best talents, um, Gustavs Mellenbergs, I think we can name drop. He's got an agent working, sifting through offers for him. So imagine what it would have been like for you if you didn't have to like find out about Facebook requests months
Yeah.
after you already committed to someone. So, and you just have some person just lay out everything for you. So it's quite
Yeah.
different. This young generation is truly blessed, and I think it wouldn't have happened unless we went through all this. So I
Yeah.
want to
But we are
pat you on the shoulder
dinosaurs.
and give you some credit as well.
Oh, thank you. It's nice that you highlight, but this is for you. This is, I will have my chance probably to speak, but I want to highlight you and go through your experiences. Because you mentioned that you have faced some challenges mentally, physically as an athlete. So, what were the struggles you had to overcome and challenges? And were you homesick because you were in a relationship, long distance? That's not easy.
Yeah, what to begin with? So I don't know. I think it's like you described me. It's kind of ironic. You said I'm different from my generation of guys, and I don't know. I'm just so self-sufficient, so it wasn't really a problem. Being away from, obviously, it wasn't easy. Like, it wasn't easy, I think, mostly for my family and my girlfriend, but I think I was so self-sufficient, so driven to make the most out of that United States experience that I was so tunnel visioned and I didn't focus on a bunch of other things that were unnecessary. So it wasn't really a problem being homesick. I think it was one of my dreams to be there. So I think as far as my athletics career went, being homesick wasn't one of the problems. But obviously I could face some like pretty basic challenges. Like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I'm one of the rare, well, actually probably not rare anymore, but one of the athletes that play college sports with type 1 diabetes. So that's quite a challenge, although I don't really, which is interesting. I got sick with it like half a year before I went to the States. So it was quite new. But I kind of dealt with it. I didn't think it was going to stop me. Like, again, that delusionment, just that self-belief, strong self-belief, that like irrational self-belief I had, just didn't feel like an obstacle for me. So I think my biggest obstacle was not being, I don't know, 6'9" with a 6'11" wingspan. I think was my biggest obstacle.
Yeah,
And
but
figuring out the game and just having a feel for the game and just extreme work ethic at times, just finding ways to kind of go and get a spot in the roster and just kind of move forward, even though a lot of people are saying no to you, telling you that you cannot go to the next level, was the main challenge. I think I was always quite doubted. Like, even my parents always were pushing me like towards the academics, and I kind of fought for a compromise in that way. Like, I got a scholarship in the States to get my education with basketball, although my parents were like, maybe you're having these knee problems, you're having these low back issues, you're diabetic now. Like, basketball's not looking like that good. Like, the potential of you being a great player is not looking that great. Those weren't the words they were saying, but that's what they implied, I think. And I kind of stuck through it. I was just ignorant, and I think physically I had the most challenges. Mentally, I was so focused, and I think
you're locked in.
those are the biggest limitations, I think. It's quite interesting. I think I was thinking about what we're going to talk about today, and I feel like being irrational, and I keep saying that word, like being delusional, is not good for anybody. But I think just me being so persuasive and just pursuing that feel for the game and just believing in myself, like, helped me a lot. And I don't know, it's quite interesting. I don't know if I can just recommend it to anybody to just sticking through it, just to stick through it and work out 3-4 hours a day and just don't think about anything else. I would recommend it to other people, but I think the biggest difference in my case was that I developed a feel for things. And instead of just like going through it in my brain and just thinking about it, overthinking too much, I developed a feel about how I shoot, how I handle, how I perceive things defensively, how I perceive things offensively, and just kind of using my senses. Like, it's interesting when I speak to youth these days, and I train youngsters as well, and I ask them, like, where do you look when you shoot the basketball? And they've been training for over 10 years. These are 17, 18-year-olds. And they cannot answer to me. They don't have a reply. They've been shooting a basketball for over 10 years and they don't know where they look. They cannot answer if they're looking at the rim, the ball, where exactly at the rim, the backboard. So that's kind of an example how I perceived things. I had a method for everything. I knew where I was looking, what I was engaging, what arc, am I going to use shooting a ball? When I missed, I knew exactly why I missed. So when I was looking at the opposition, like help side defense, I kind of knew the types, the patterns of the movement of players, so I can be one step ahead because I couldn't get there physically. So I developed an extreme sense, just like a sensation or feel for the game because I was so challenged physically. And that's the way I stuck through it. That's what I mean by being irrational, is that I had to do a completely different thing than most of my peers because they were athletic, more athletic, faster, longer arm, and half the work ethic I had, I just had to do something different. So I think that's how I stuck through.
You strategized.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that's good. And
I hope it
also,
made sense because I was just kind of blabbering, but I hope I made sense.
no, I follow through. I get it. You know, it's also like kind of like your feel for the game, your IQ, your basketball IQ was helping you to play against those who were much bigger wingspan and
Yeah.
taller and athletically more advanced. But you know, I think the one thing you mentioned about believing in yourself, that's the most important thing because so many other players would, you know, when they get this outside doubt and criticism and oh, just like maybe it's not for you or like find a different way how to succeed in life. So many would buy into that and give up on their dreams. But your delusional belief in yourself, I think it is good because you're going to have many doubters in your life and you have to go after your goals, even though it might seem crazy to some other people, you know? It doesn't matter. You go
It's a
after your
balance,
goal.
right? Because just I had my major in college was kinesiology and my minor was psychology. So I've kind of always been interested in psychology. So I've read about it, learned about it. So I'm just curious about what do you think? Like I've analyzed about myself that it's kind of this like delusionment and irrational belief. It can stem from quote unquote being not good enough, feeling not good enough a lot of times, and my life over and over has proven me that I hadn't been good enough. Like for youth national teams, for this, that, the other, for D1 basketball and that sort of thing. So it was just like, just having that, well, it's pretty much like a sickness, I'd say, like a psychological, not sickness, you know, but like a predisposition that you're not good enough and it just kind of drives you. But I think having that realization that you're there, that you're driven by that, I think it can be healthy. Although at its stem it's quite unhealthy, but it can be healthy if you put it towards good work ethic and
Exactly. Like you can use that as a motivation or something that crashes you down. If you know, like maybe you didn't play basketball to play in NBA. Maybe you played basketball to gain all this experience and take it even further. So you can be of service to others. You can help people in the career that you're doing right now, and who knows how far it's gonna take you. Like it can take you very far.
And that's the thing, like not being good enough can create quite an unhealthy ego. So, as some of you may know who are listening, I've had a YouTube channel as well. And I mean, how self-centered do you have to be to have a YouTube channel about your life?
But
So that's the
maybe
thing.
you were
Just having all those failures, some would say, in my life, I still thought my life's interesting enough and kind of unique enough that I can talk about my life openly, publicly, and have a vlog type YouTube channel about my life, my relationship with my girlfriend, my wife now. So about my family and kids. So it stems from that as well, just like a dysfunction, really. But over and over again in my life, I think I've created good things in my life from that dysfunction. It's just that I had to realize pretty quickly in my life that, yeah, something up there is like not quite rational. And over again, I keep getting pushed back on things I think I deserve, but I'm gonna still like move my energy towards something, work hard, develop things when I'm not getting the reward necessarily immediately. And yeah, I think I've been able to get some things done. Yeah.
But listen, you know how many people would want a YouTube channel and like vlog about their life, but they just don't do it. And the difference is that you do it. And you are not shy about putting yourself out there, which is amazing. Like many people are watching and maybe saying something about it, but the fact is it's probably that they would want to be in the same position of maybe you are looking into like a, also it's fun, it's, you know, a thing to do, but that can be a long-term investment.
It has been. It has been.
Exactly. Like podcast. Okay, in the beginning it's pretty shitty. You try your best, but maybe in 10 years it's gonna grow and make a big impact in life.
There's no other way. You kind of, obviously these days it's a bit easier to have all these fancy things and kind of set up if you just have the financial means and whatnot, but you kind of have to get to that point, right? You kind of have to. My first YouTube vlog, it was shot with an iPhone 5S, I think, and it's still public.
Well, you had iPhone that time, so.
Exactly, yeah, so it's so bad.
I
even,
actually
like,
scrolled through yesterday to the
Yeah.
like the oldest, and you have almost 23,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
I have 50, so can
You'll
you
get there.
pat on yourself a little bit?
Thank you. You'll get
Yeah.
there. I mean, at the beginning, I think our breakthrough happened maybe a year in. So until then, we did a lot of things you do when you become like, you try to become an influencer, YouTuber, whatever. You clickbait. You do some type of video that's maybe casual or a challenge type, and then you clickbait. And a lot of people are gonna find your video and they're gonna be like, "Ah, I didn't want to see this. What's this? This is bullshit." But someone's gonna stick. And the more you do it, the slower you start building your audience, and it kind of gathers until you kind of move into the mainstream type of world, and then you just explode. So yeah, it kind of took some lumps, but we got there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you got, don't belittle yourself. I think this is the difference, why you're different. You have this self-confidence in a way that's not cocky, that's not arrogant, and you're a doer, you talk and you do. So that's the difference, and it's good, and you can achieve great things because you have this drive. Not everyone has the drive, but you also are committed, and that's all it takes for being successful. Someone could be very lucky of having overnight fame or whatever, but the effort is the most important.
Thank you. It was obviously great hearing that. But even then, like sometimes, I mean, nowadays more than ever, I think we see like those type of industry plants or whatnot. They kind of become famous overnight. But a lot of times, I think my success on social media, I think felt like an overnight success for some people. They didn't see me putting in that work, like however many years we did that, like 3, 4, 5 years until we got kind of relevant in this area over here. And even now, like I'm still getting these collaborations and advertisements years after we started, like, or even we haven't been as active anymore on that channel, and we're still kind of getting the fruit from our labor that was almost 10 years ago, I think, I feel like. And yeah, it's just, it takes time.
But also you're posting in Latvian, so not the whole world doesn't speak in Latvian, so you're very limited in that area.
Yeah.
But for Latvians, you have grown a big
Yeah,
audience.
For this area, it's quite good.
Yeah. Okay. Your career right now as a physio, osteo, I think it's a great combo. And especially you're in athletics and you are helping people. You are of service to people. Was this like random, or you kind of had an idea where to go? Or was it random because you thought you're going to be pro and then you had a baby and you had to change plans?
Well, kind of everything you just said. I'm trying to figure out what to begin with. So, my dad's an osteopath. I think I have to begin with that. So, I've always been inspired by his work. And he's done some amazing things in his career, and he keeps doing it. He's still young, 57, I think. Yeah. And it's amazing how young, I don't know about your parents, but how young this generation of parents are. But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I wanted to be like him, I guess. I wanted to be like him since I was a youngin. So there's a bit more interesting story to this. I was in the vet Riga system when I was, what was it, 15, 16 years old. The whole vet cadeti, vet Riga system, kind of the club, one of the major basketball clubs in Riga, Latvia.
Yeah.
Started developing a youth program, so I was part of that first program. And we were some of the best guys from our age group, training, working out, having the best trainers, coaches, physios on our staff. It was quite elite, and I had major back issues. I was overtraining. I was training like over 10 times a week, not even exaggerating. I think 12 to 13 times at some point, like with games as well. And I was overtraining, which just baffles me that wasn't a concept before, but whatever. But yeah, I was overtraining. I wasn't getting any better. I had back issues. And the team physio, which was considered one of the best physios, obviously, in the area, I asked her, it was so bad. I couldn't even get home pretty much one day. My back was so hurt. I was cramping up. I had spasms. So I was just like, I was desperate for an answer. I wanted some help from her. But she's a physio. She's responsible for it. And she just told me, stay at home for 3 weeks, and then just come back. And at that moment, I thought, if I was ever to be a physical therapist, I'm going to do a better job. I'm going to make a difference. So, yeah, all these years later, I'm trying to do that. Yeah. And that was like a big catalyst for me, because I was so upset. I thought, there's no way it's so bad at 16 years old that I cannot move. And my physio cannot even, I don't know if she didn't show interest or she couldn't have helped me, but at that moment, I thought I could do better. And yeah, to kind of end this part of the story, I didn't have EuroLeague offers. I didn't have like major club offers here in terms of basketball. So kind of paved my way to the States, like I told before. And I decided to pursue kinesiology, which, for some is quite an easy way out in terms of college degrees. But it was towards something I knew was going to keep working towards. So I studied anatomy, physiology, all those good things, exercise science, and kind of at least I was moving towards where I am today. And once I abruptly stopped playing, I started training people, just regular type of exercise thing, athletic trainer pretty much, and then got my osteopathy degree while trying to starting a family, having my first kid, having my second kid, and now finishing up that physical therapy degree as well.
Yeah. Again,
Quite
I love.
11 to 12-year journey for me.
Mm-hmm. You really grow up when you have kids. It's life changing, and
I believe it's, well, I thought about this like 2 days ago. I think it's the best thing to have kids when you're around 25 to 30, that range. Because it doesn't matter how grown up you think you are, you will grow up when you have kids.
yeah,
And just when you have kids, you're gonna have that sense, like an unmatched sense of responsibility and unmatched sense of love and neededness that I think a lot of people struggle with today. And just having that unlimited type of joy you get from having a child and spending time with them, and I think it's the best thing for people our age to have a child around that 25 to 30 range, because it's not necessarily too early. You're still quite not established yet, but you're gonna establish yourself because you're gonna have that sense of drive and motivation to kind of do those things. So yeah,
yeah,
I've
and
been really fortunate to have those things. So yeah, I can. It just confuses me why people wait so long these days. And I think it was the best thing for me because I was so young in my head when I had, my first kid was 24, 20, I think I was 24 years old. And I was a child, truly. Even after all those experiences I went through, I was still a child. And I think it was one of the best things for me, having a kid, yeah.
but I really want to congratulate you on that too, because you seem very engaged and present in their lives, even though you have so much on your plate. So how do you manage that? Like, obviously, it's not easy. You might be exhausted at times, but what's the mentality behind it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I couldn't have, it wouldn't look this way if I didn't have my wife, I think. She's everything. I don't even know, like, I don't do nearly as much as she does for our family, even though, I'm responsible for the financial means or and whatnot, but that's, that's gonna happen. And I'm so career driven, and I just try to just kind of be present. I have like a note on my Apple iPhone Notes app. It's just, it's silly. It just says like to-do list. I have a to-do list on my Notes app, and it just says be present at home.
Oh,
So pretty much every time I kind of need to check my to-do list, that's the first thing that pops up, because I've had issues with that. It hasn't been easy because I'm so career driven, and I'm always pursuing more, doing more, achieving more, just kind of feeding my ego and whatnot, and just pursuing better, bigger, better things for myself and my family. So it hasn't always been easy to be present at home. So to kind of keep that in mind at all times. But just, I think my dad was kind of the same way. So I think it's natural for us. We're all children of someone. We just kind of want to be a better version of our parents. I think it's the best way. I think it's quite important to understand what way the way parents raised you affected you and how you can change those things. And I try to be, aware of that. And the more I am aware of those things and kind of the things I can kind of continue to move towards my kids that I received from my parents, I try to, not that they were bad or good or different or whatever. I just try to do it not because of those things, but kind of the way things I see would be better fitting. So I think a lot of that engagement I have with my kids, and trying to be present comes from the fact that maybe my parents weren't always present or emotionally engaged or supportive towards my basketball career, you know. But I love my parents. They gave me everything I have, and they were so great. I had a great childhood, but at the same time, it's impossible to be a perfect parent. It's literally impossible. So you're gonna mess up some way or another. But I think most of my presence, I think, that you're speaking of comes from the fact that I'm super aware of the way I was raised, and I'm trying to do it even better.
I think that's a very good takeaway for those who are listening, because many have this, blaming game or victim mentality mindset, and either because of that they don't want kids, or there's grudge towards parents the way they were parented. But this is a good takeaway to learn from whatever your experience was and then level up.
It's quite difficult to find trust, isn't it, these days, right?
Well, elaborate. Trust between what?
Just in terms of finding a partner and and someone you kind of trust your life and your child with. I think for me, my wife, between us, we passed that test with flying colors because we spent 4.5 years apart, just visiting in between semesters. So my experience is completely unique and unlike probably most of the people listening can relate to, but so it's quite easy for me to speak about. So it's still something I need to work on, as well. Just you cannot just cement a trust with someone. You kind of have to work towards it, right? So I think a lot of people these days just give up too quickly, or I hate the term red flag. I hate that people use it as much these days, and it's kind of so popular that you notice something about a person you don't like, and it's immediately like a just move on type of situation. Which, I mean, everybody deserves the best, but if you have that chemistry, if you build that trust, and if it feels familiar and you like it, I think people don't think too much these days. Yeah.
So let's dig a little bit about the red flag. So you're meaning to say that even though you see some flaws in someone else, just recognize that you yourself also have some flaws and give it some time to get to know this person, or give it more chance?
Guess so. It's interesting. Well, a question I ask myself, and this is true a lot of the times, that if I get annoyed by something or pissed about something that happens at home, really important question to ask, is it about her or is it about me? Why did I get angry?
Exactly.
So a lot of the time, I can maybe agree even with saying most of the time, I find out after asking myself this question that I had this irrational belief that made me get angry. Well, not angry, or just upset. And then I just kind of cool down, understand, we talk through it and move forward, and it doesn't escalate towards anything else.
Yeah. But important is to talk it out, to solve it, not to leave it, shrug it under the carpet and don't pay attention to it, and then just the ball keeps growing.
Well, it's easy to say, right? But I think for most of our generation, that's kind of the way we were raised, the type of households we were raised in, bottle it up type culture,
But I mean, this is good that we are talking about it, because people need to wake up and change, and we are not the same generation. We can break the cycle.
Change those
But,
things. Exactly. Yeah.
you know, when you mentioned about why am I getting pissed or angry about whatever
Yeah.
someone else did, is exactly like, why do you have that button that someone can push and you get angry? The issue is that what's unresolved, what are the expectations, or what are the, you know, like principles that you live by that someone else can piss you off. So it's a good self-reflection tool to just figure out, okay, why am I pissed about this?
Yeah. Well, in terms of your field, you know, mind mastering and becoming a better thinking athlete, I think, well, that's the issue with anxiety as well. Well, why do opponents cause anxiety in us, right? It's kind of stupid. It's our perception of opponents, right? So if you have this belief and just trust within yourself that you're here, you're present, and you're going to do what you're capable of, why would you have anxiety, right? It sounds easy. So one of the things I had this issue a lot when I was playing, like on that level. So like one of my methods was I was just kind of looking at my palms, and I was just telling myself, okay, what do my palms look like? Where are my feet? Where are my legs? And just kind of trying to be present, just asking myself these silly, dumb questions about just being present. What does it feel like? Like, what's going on? What do my fingertips feel like? Like, just again, coming back to that sense. So the
It's
more you can
grounding.
engage your senses, the more you can come back to yourself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be on a basketball court. It can be in daily life as well. So when you're just anxious and it's trembling inside, just kind of try to get present, try to engage your senses, and you can come back to yourself, I think.
Exactly. Don't you have a hidden psychology degree somewhere that
I've
you
read a
know
lot of
these tools?
self-help books, you know.
Yeah, which is good. And, you know, oh,
I'm here, sorry.
no, I'll get. But psychology is beneficial in anything. I mean, psychology is life. And in your career, there's lots of psychology too. Like people struggle with their physical issues, but maybe there's also blocks mentally. Like what's keeping them away from, you know, dealing with whatever physical issue they are having.
I try to combine the two worlds, honestly, and I feel like I don't even have to try most of the time. Because when you think about what's central nervous system, well, the spine, yeah, basically our brain and our spine is our nervous system. So the health of our spine, the peripheral nervous system, our limbs, our arms, our legs, our organs, all the stimulus we get from those things, whatever type of sensation we get travels through our spine towards our brain and kind of processes through that central nervous system cycle and comes back towards our limbs, our arms, our legs, our bodily functions. So it's kind of, I think it's kind of the same thing. So your past experiences kind of control your brain, the way it thinks, the way it feels, the limbic system, the emotional stuff. But you can kind of break that cycle once you engage into good posture, good body language. Just
It's correlated.
yeah, exactly. When you're just present with your body and when you have that ability to self-regulate, to kind of sense whether you're breathing deep enough, whether you're exhaling long enough, whether you're cold, are you hot or you're cold, where are your fingertips, how do they feel, is there any tingling, are you shaking? So just having that self-regulation and having that sense is going to help you down-regulate your nervous system. So I think what I do in my practice kind of helps with the mental side as well, just by the fact that I make people engage in their posture and try to feel their posture, try to engage into gait cycle type movements that require a lot of thinking, but right after that, it's gonna allow them to just have a more stabilized nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about. I've been working with in the clinic here with a chiropractor and clinical based on clinical neuroscience. So just seeing how much like misalignments within your neck can cause anxiety for a person on a physical side. So mind body, that's why it's called mind body. It's correlated, and in my practice as well, it's not only about like your confidence or limiting beliefs. Like I actually focus on nervous system and the tools that can help to regulate all of that.
Exactly. There are a lot of examples. So, like there are sympathetic nervous system ganglia in our necks. So what if we have a bad neck alignment? It's constantly triggered. It just means we're going to have more sympathetic reactions, more fight reactions rather than flight reactions towards things. Same with like something like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, which a lot of people struggle with. A lot of women struggle with. It's both psychological and it's in their bellies. They have these flat back, like a pushed backwards type of postures, and their oblique abdominals are not working. Need to engage them. Need to align your posture the way you're always engaged in your gait and your posture when you're sitting, when you're breathing, and that way you won't have that poor stimuli from your bowels, and you won't have the IBS symptoms anymore. So it's kind of a loop really, but I think I strongly believe this. You cannot improve psychologically unless you address the physical stuff as well.
I agree.
I think there's a ceiling to what you can do psychologically if you're not addressing the physical at all.
Yeah, it's completely true. And even if we look from a more simple perspective of, let's say, a person can think, an athlete can think, oh, I'm like very confident, no limits, I got this. But then physically they don't put any work in, or they don't train, or they don't feel physically strong enough. It's not going to get far with just thinking.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Good stuff. So anyone who is in need of regulating their nervous system, improving posture, strengthening core, having any issues with joints or muscles or back, neck, hit up Gustavs Therapy.
Yeah.
We're gonna link all the tools, how you can reach Gustavs, and you should give consultations. You should be available online, even if your buddies are struggling overseas.
Yeah.
Provide consultations online because you can give some good insights even virtually.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna move towards English type of content. I think here quite soon. I think I'm ready.
Yeah, you reached the bar in Latvian audience. You need to expand.
I think so.
And you have such a good insights. I mean, the content you provide even for free online, it's good quality, it's valuable, and people can definitely see that you know the stuff you're talking about, and that's important.
Thank you.
I want to recognize about you are making impact within the health field in Latvia. You got in 2022 the year award in medical field.
Yeah.
So congratulations, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like, don't think of it any less. This is good success, and this is a nice stepping stone for your career. I have a question. What would you tell people who are afraid of going after whatever they set their mind to. Is there any tip, anything that's on your mind?
Yeah, I think, well, here's the funny thing. Like, today I talked quite a lot about things being like a delusion, a dysfunction. And I think people need to dive into that. So I think, first of all, we need to become aware of those things. Maybe read a couple of books in terms of psychology or self-help. It can be the most basic book. You don't need any like fancy courses or academic schoolwork to kind of become aware of those things. You just kind of watch a film or two or read a couple books about it, and then just slowly become more aware about where your decisions, your emotions are coming from. And one of the best things I heard about psychology, I think, ever, was that it's kind of like, it's quite difficult to fight the fact that you're not okay. So much rather just accept that you're not okay. Well, the phrase was you're fucked up. So just accept the fact that you're fucked up and do something about it. Move forward with it. Just accept
Yay.
it. It's going to be easier. So I think,
It's called radical acceptance.
yeah. So I think that's helped me out a lot. Just understanding that I've dealt with some bullshit in my life. It's never going to change. I mean, I can do things to kind of make it easier on my consciousness or my subconsciousness to kind of accept and forgive, which I've done as well. But I think, like, it just eats you up slowly. And I think I've needed to accept those things, which is all relative anyway. Like, things I've dealt with are not anything to maybe someone else who's dealt with a lot more shit than I have. But for me in my life, to the places where I've been and what they meant at the time, it was quite difficult. And I've accepted it. I've kind of made peace with it, and it just has driven me to move forward. And I think, first of all, just become aware of your decision making, your emotions, why you're reacting the way you do in your daily, day-to-day life. And yeah, just don't delve into the past. Like, it's okay. Just move forward. Become creative. Like, that's the thing. Like, our school system, I don't want to dive into this question, but the school system teaches us to not be creative. And all my life, I thought I was not creative at all. Like, I couldn't create anything.
What are you talking about? You have your own sneaker. Even that's creativity
Well,
and
that's
art.
the thing. Like, retrospectively now, I'm looking back, like, I'm super creative. I've done a lot of things. I've created a lot of things. And even the way I play basketball, it's creative. So I had this belief, which I wasn't aware of, that I'm not creative. And before I was aware of that, I kind of stuck to believing that I'm not creative and I cannot do anything. And I cannot create anything that's special and whatnot. So just kind of becoming aware, like I told you before, of just becoming aware of the dysfunction. I understood, yeah, maybe I can do things. Yeah, I can do things that are different. I don't want to fit the mold and do whatever everybody else is doing and just kind of live that average life, so to say. So just
Exactly.
becoming
And
aware.
yeah, don't get stuck in your own head. Like, don't believe if you have doubters and teachers who tell you you're not creative or you're not good in math, and what are you even thinking about? Just don't limit yourself, or first recognize you have limiting beliefs, and then you have a choice to either believe it or to start change something about it.
Right.
And you keep being you and stay different, because that's exactly what we need. We don't need
Yeah.
what everyone else is doing.
Trying
Be
to
different.
be someone else worked out pretty badly for me. So Just being me, being different has worked pretty well for me. So yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks for all the insights, and I really appreciate your time and the person you are and the person you are becoming. And there's definitely a huge impact you are making in life of others. Maybe you sometimes can't recognize it, but that hard work always pays off. At the end of the day, it will pay off. And
Just
so
takes
you
time.
just, it takes time. But the good stuff takes time.
Right.
What's rushed usually don't stay for long.
Exactly. Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. It was good talking to you, and we'll keep in touch. I know we'll meet one day as well when the paths cross and when it's time. So thank you. And now run to your family, be present.
All right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.